but we are gonna go through it anyways because this is sort of the first of the books that I think you would want to read, in my opinion. I think this is the first one they recommend that you read. It sort of depends. I think there's another first one that's, if you're the GM, you can start with that. But anyways, so let's do a bit of a read through. So first up, I really like the cover. It pretty much evokes what I think this is going to be about. There's a dragon, and there's an adventurer, and they're in some sort of dungeon. This is the game that I think will probably fit. My expectations for this will be the game that fits my sort of chunk of a dungeon crawl game, which is what I want in my repertoire. I would like a game that fits that. So I'm excited to see how this plays out and what kind of things are available in Torchbearer. They're still doing revisions, so what you see here might not be the final copy. Although I'm going to be looking through the books. I'm going to do them in the order that I think they're the most complete based off of the stuff that they've been sharing through Kickstarter. So we'll hopefully be looking at stuff that is relatively up to date and at least like pretty close to what they're going to publish. But again, this is sort of what they have available now and not what's shipped, so just keep that in mind. As far as other stuff, I think we're good to start jumping in and taking a look. So we've got some credits. Thor and Luke, those are the two people that have been sending out emails and doing all the communication stuff. That's very cool. Pretty typical stuff here as far as credits. I don't think... Just like a quick look, I don't recognize any of the other names, but also I don't know a lot of names, so there we are. But let's take a look and see what we're going to have in here. So, table of contents. Born to lose. We're starting off strong. This is a game about losing and failure. If you are new or not as familiar with some of the other games that they've done, such as Burning Wheel, a lot of these games tend to be more gritty, I would say, very focused on making things tough. I would almost go as far to say as like the Dark Souls of tabletop RPGs. I haven't played the first Torchbearer, so I don't really know. I'm kind of going into this with a sense of not really sure what's going to be in here, but I have played Burning Wheel. Actually, I have a Burning Wheel game later today, so I'm familiar with that, and there's similarities, so some things going on there. We're going to talk about the anatomy of adventure, keys to the kingdom, gather round. These seem like prologue. I don't really know what's going on in there, but we'll find out, I guess. Adventure's essential guide to the life on the road. Cool. What we fight for. So we're probably talking about beliefs, abilities, nature, skills, wise, traits, inventory, or kind of ritual. Very cool. So looks like, again, we're diving into the first book that's going to go over how the adventurers look. The Skein of Destiny. We've got some advancement, some levels, iconic characters, and then we've got a reference section. Okay, so it seems like this is going to cover the characters. That's what we're in store for. That's what we're going to be learning about. That's what we're going to see here. I think that'll be nice to take a look and learn a bit more. I love the art. It's very sort of like a little bit Norse, a little bit Scandinavian. Cool art. Born to lose. That is what this chapter is called. I am kind of curious if the art is going to be blue like this as we continue on. I'm going to switch to the hand. Ooh. This is a game that features Tolkien-esque themes, so like dwarves, elves, humans, that kind of stuff. I imagine we're going to see how that plays out. But let's begin taking a look. Anatomy of an adventurer. Adventurer is a dirty word. You're a scoundrel, a villain, a wastrel, a vagabond, a criminal, a sword for hire, a cutthroat. Respectable people belong to guilds or the church, or born into nobility, or born all that. They're salt of the earth and till the land for the rest of us. Your problem is that you are none of that. You're a third child or worse. You can't get into a guild, too many apprentices already. You're sure as hell not nobility, even if you were. Your older brothers and sisters have soaked up all the inheritance. And if you're cursed with visions from the immortals, the temples won't take you in. You question their authority and subvert their power. So you are outcast like the rest of us. And if you ever entertained romantic notions of homesteading, think again. You'd end up little more than a slave to a wealthy noble. Well, okay. First thoughts. I like a lot of this. I don't think... what's a good way to put this? My personal preference for some of it is... I don't like that there's mentions of slaves on the first page. That's... I don't think... That's my first opinion. I like the rest of it. It sort of sets the tone. I guess I know what they're going for. They're trying to make it be like, this is the best that you could ever hope in a society. So, alas. Let's move on. So there's not for you but to make your own way. There's a certain freedom to it, but it's a hard life. Cash flows out of your hands as easily as the blood from your wounds, but at least it's your life. And if you're lucky, smart, and stubborn, you might come out on top. There's a lot of lost loot out there for the finding, and salvage law is mercifully generous. You find it, it's yours to spend, sell, or keep. Okay, so it sets this tone for what's going on here. You are someone who needs to go out and do these things to survive. This is your way of life. I do like that. Your adventure is made up of many facets. Let's take a look at them. Okay, so let's start taking a look at what's going on in here. You've got your name. Nice. Your folks probably named you Dwazil or Egberta. What a name, Egberta. Egberta. But you should take on a new strong-sounding name to start your new career. Something like Baron of Karkaroth or Dralik the Tall or Fimble the Nimble. Maybe not Fimble. I do like the writing style and tone. Stock. Are you a dwarf, elf, halfling, or human? Each stock has its own traditions, benefits, and drawbacks. In the core rules, your stock is integral to your class. This is kind of interesting. Like I mentioned, this game is based in Tolkien, and we have a lot of that. I'm curious to see how that is brought into the game. We can make the assumption, based off of reading this and based off of what I know about the designers, is that it's going to have a significant part in this. And I'm curious to see how they take stock and make it something that isn't reductionary, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. I do hope that this does not lean into, you know, like when you watch Lord of the Rings and there's a reasonable amount of that story which is carried on, oh, haha, one's a dwarf and one's an elf and they fight. All right, Tolkien. I have higher hopes for this. We'll see if they come through. I kind of want to see what they do. I think there are ways that this can be done nicely, and that's sort of my hope. Class. Your character's class determines your starting skill set and level benefits. There are 6 classes: Burglar, Magician, Outcast, Ranger, Thurge, and Warrior. This is different. Only one of these is in Dungeons and Dragons if we're going to make that comparison, and that's the Ranger. And no one plays a Ranger in Dungeons and Dragons. Hot take. Interesting. Burglar. I'm guessing this is like burglar, like not Bilbo Baggins. Yeah, Bilbo Baggins. I was confusing Frodo and Bilbo. I'm guessing this is burglar as in like you go in and get the loot from the dragon. Magician, so you've got, you know, casting spells. Outcast, I'm curious to see what this is. Ranger, so there, that's our Legolas. Thurge. Do we have any comparisons that we can make for that? I don't think so. I think this Thurge to me seems like it's going to be more in the realm of what we'd see for Norse Scandinavian kind of holy paladin stuff. And then warrior. So warrior, we know what warriors are. How old is your character? Yeah, so different people live different ages. Got it. Home. Where is your hometown? Each settlement teaches you a practical thing or two, but usually leaves a mark. Raiment. How do you dress? Okay, nice. Parents. Everyone's got them or had them. Okay, cool. I like that we're chatting about parents. Yeah, anyways. Mentor. Some of us are lucky enough to have a mentor to show us the ropes into life. Your mentor is a 7th level character who will train you when they can. That's new. And that's interesting that that's so integral to the character. Friend. Some of us even have a friend who we can rely on. A friend will help out when they can. I like that too. I do like... It's nice. Okay, this is a dungeon crawl game and it's including social bits. Oh, and then we've got the character sheet here. We've got the character sheet. So we've got who we are. We've got the what we fight for section. I'm sure it'll go over that, but it looks like we've got beliefs, goals, instincts, all that kind of stuff. Traits. We've got fate and persona. These are things familiar to Burning Wheel. I'm going to let this game explain them rather than, you know, give my impressions now. Let's let the game do the talking. We've got the conditions here. Some help text, it looks like abilities. So the abilities, it looks like we've got will, health, nature, resources, circles, precedence, might. Okay, very nice. A list of skills. It looks like we have a fair preset, but then room for additional ones. So cool, yeah. And then wises, and looks like we've got room for 4. And then more help text. So first impressions so far, I am hopeful from what I've seen. Burning Wheel is a game that, for me, the thing with Burning Wheel is that it takes a lot of brain power, but once you get it there, it's like, it's good and it's going. This one seems like it's going to be a little bit easier to get going, a bit more accessible, if that makes sense. So cool stuff there. Some of my first thoughts. Oh, let's keep going. Enemy. Most folks in life have made an enemy or two. Enemies will vex you, but they're usually good for a laugh or two. The thing is, they inevitably appear when you're close to your goal, either right behind you or one step ahead. In fact, enemies are always one level higher than you. Isn't that just the way? Okay, I like that. Friends, enemies, mentors. It gives your character some context. Level, belief. What does it say here for belief? This life is grim and perilous. How do you see your place in it? What is personal to you? What is your perspective on danger, treasure, or your role among your companions? If you fight for what you believe, you get rewarded. Very cool. More character sheet. Let's see what's going on here. Inventory. Very nice. it looks like, so from what I know about the inventory system so far, is it's a very Diablo-esque one, where it's like you have your head slot, your torso slot, your hands, your belts, as we're seeing here on the screen. We've got a satchel, it looks like, so that's nice. Allies and enemies, so people that we can list. Oh, Ulrich in party. Question. I like that. We've got some relics, arcane spells, so probably for the 3rd Gem edition. We've got level requirements and benefits, so leveling up. It looks like we've got 10 levels in this game. Interesting. It's interesting to me that there's levels in this game, because in Burning Wheel there is not levels, and that's what I'm comparing this to. Oh, we've got more. It just keeps going. Creed. Your creed is a philosophy or ethos born from a group, religion, faction, or organization. If your belief is about you, your creed is about a bigger idea which you are invested. I like that. It's like a... Well, they explained it. Great. It's a higher level thing. Goal. Your character won't survive out there if you don't make clear, simple goals for them. Explore those ruins, find that lost treasure, help your friends, keep them safe, rescue the prince, extort him for all he's worth. Nice. I like that this lays out, it's like, create nice, simple goals. This is a great tool for GMs, in my opinion. This will make it very easy for me to get ready and prep for a game. Instinct. Our instincts keep us alive. They're quirks or habits that we've adopted to help us get by. If your instinct is triggered, you get a free throw of the dice. Mechanical benefit, that's good. If your instinct helps you, your group, you get rewarded. This is cool. So these games from these designers tend to be pretty good at doing a collaboration between the whole pieces of what we're seeing from the story and what we're getting from the mechanics. And so we have a really robust and elegant way in which they interact. And from what I'm seeing, it looks like we're going to get more of that, which is good. Traits or qualities burned into us. So we've got things like quick-witted, extravagant, or tall. They can help us, but they can hinder us. There's 3 levels. See more about that. Fight for your belief, accomplish your goal, help out with an instinct. There's 2 kinds of rewards, fate points and persona. Very cool. You got your conditions. There's 8 conditions: fresh, hungry and thirsty, angry, afraid, exhausted, injured, sick, and dead. Ooh, no Oxford comma. Each condition, except fresh, imposes a deleterious effect on you. Another nail in your coffin. I like that dead is a condition. You have 2 sets of abilities. So you have raw abilities. They're what you use to get by when you're out in the wild dark. And then there's town abilities. That's what you use to get by in town. Okay, cool. So raw abilities are will, health, nature, and might. Okay. So let's see. Will, mental strength, physical strength for health. Nature is your center. Let's read about nature. Let's read about what's going on here. It's the inescapable fact of who you are. It consists of a rating from 0 to 7 and 3 descriptors. The descriptor is what you can do with your nature. Anything that can be applied to one of those descriptors can be tackled with nature, but nature is volatile. It limits how quickly you can learn, and if you should ever fall to 0 or remain too long at 7, you lose your taste for the life and quit. Nature is the only ability that can be temporarily reduced as you use it. This is represented by the current and maximum rating on your character sheet. Okay. So it seems like nature is this thing which embodies something about your character and the way that they behave and who they are. So I like that. Might rates your inner power. So warriors, wizards, and blah 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 are rated at 3. It's never rolled. Okay, let's take a look at our town ability. So we've got circles represents your ability to find people. So we know this from Burning Wheel. This is You want to go find someone in town. Who are they? How difficult is it to find them? Roll to see if you can get them. Away you go. Very nice. Resources. Some say that resources is what this game is all about. Without resources, you live in an alley and eat rats. Disgusting. With resources, you buy gear, hire help, and live like a king. This ability is rated from 0 to 10, and loot can be piled on top of that for a temporary lift. But watch out for tax. Your resources ability can be permanently reduced by a failed roll. So it sounds like as it goes up, the more tax you get, and then if you get enough tax, it'll go down. This game is ultimately about trying to become rich. That's what an adventurer wants to do. You don't have any other way to do it, so make a living. Precedence is your social standing. Just as there's a natural order to beasts, dragons, and spirits, there's also order to the social fabric of the world. Precedence is the equivalent to might in town and other social situations. It can be improved through magic, level bets, and power artifacts. Okay, cool. Never rolled. Okay. So this is like it's your social standing. Reputation, if you will. Let's take a look at the skills. Okay. Your skills are your mainstay. Whether you're any good at what you do is dependent on your skill rating. They go from 1 to 6. You can learn any skill. Once you start learning, you engage with beginner's luck before you formally learn the skill. And then there's a section where it talks about that. Okay. Advancement. So it seems like we're just still getting an overview of all the different pieces going on. My eyes are tired. Oh, okay. Push yourself hard enough and you can improve your abilities and skills. To advance a skill or ability by 1, you need to pass a number of times equal to the current rating. Okay. And you need to fail a number of times equal to 1 less than the current rating. As soon as you do that, your skill or ability increases by 1. All of us possess an area of expertise. We call these collections of facts and pedantry wises. So you can be goblin wise. Wises determine what languages you speak. So if you're dwarf wise, you speak dwarvish. Makes sense. It looks like your wises aren't rolled. They're just a thing that you have. It looks like we'll see more as we get to there. Ooh, more art. I do enjoy this style of art. The simplisticness of it. Rather than the high illustration stuff that you see in other books. It's a very specific look. Allies and additional enemies. Okay. We've got our inventory. We've got arcane spells and relics. We saw a bit of those. So let's continue on. First thoughts so far, I like what we're seeing. It seems like the characters are interesting. It looks like they've got substance, compelling mechanics, elegance. Yeah. I think what we'll do as we continue on is we will dig into some of these parts that are here, and I'm going to dig into some more than others. If some seem more or less interesting to me, we'll see where we go. I'm probably going to dig into the more interesting ones, but let's continue on. Okay, so this talks about the 4 books. We don't need to worry about these books. We're gonna probably we'll see where I get, but my hope is to look through all of them. Oh, okay. I feel like this maybe could have been earlier in the book. That's okay. Oh, okay, yeah. This is the brief overview. So we have the game elements. We have an advancement section, reference. If you're a savvy one, you'll read through the first 3 sections and familiarize yourself with your new life. It'll increase your odds of survival. Luke and Thor said, players, read this. You will be better if you do. Which is interesting because these games that have this crunch to them often do involve a certain level where you're like, you will be better the more you learn the game and as you go on, because you'll be able to make more of those connections and see how things work. And it's less about having things memorized, but more about having a wisdom for how they operate, which I like. Let's see what it has to say on role-playing. This is a role-playing game. Role-playing games are peculiar and unique. They require a lot of imagination and investment from the players, but this creative input is also what makes role-playing games great. Okay, we already know what role-playing games are. Performance, first-person, roles and tests, control, unplanned storage. It looks like it's just talking about some of the different parts of what role-playing games are. I like that. I think for the most part, we're not going to dig into this. I think it's a nice piece to include though. So, here we are. Be polite and generous. Okay, now we're getting into some good parts. I like when the games lay out table behavior. Let's take a look and see what it says here. As you're playing your character, be polite and respectful to everyone else at the table. If your character is angry, you should not use that as an excuse to be angry or mean to the other players. Very straight to the point. I like that. Make sure that everyone gets a chance to speak. Make sure that everyone gets a chance to be in the spotlight. When someone has the dice and is about to roll, the rest of the table must be quiet and attentive. It's that player's turn to add to the story. Before rolling, they describe what their character is doing. Everyone stops, listens, and supports the player. If all tables did this, their games would be so much better. It's good to lay that stuff out. Laying out this is important. There's a lot of tables which really abuse the social dynamics of what happens when you're playing a game together. It's primarily the game master's job to pass the spotlight around. Okay, we know about passing the spotlight. Ooh, table chatter. When you play the game, you don't spend the entire session in character. Table chatter is important. You should give each other advice and talk about the best strategies. However, it looks like we've got some more stuff in here. Be polite and respectful. Do not boss another player around. If another player doesn't want your advice, let them choose their own course. Never interrupt another player's performance with your table chatter. Always listen first, then discuss. Make suggestions, but don't lobby. Ooh, this is a good one. There's a difference between contributing by tossing out an idea and arguing for a certain path. There's a big difference there. Listen, explore, decide, describe. So this is talking more about role-playing games. Some more cool art. That looks very precarious. It looks like this This halfling looks like Tintin, if anyone's familiar with Tintin. The hair and the nose, the face. Once you describe what your character is doing in this moment, the game master will decide if the action is risky or dangerous, or if what you're describing is smart and safe. If they decide there's a risk, they'll call for you to test one of your character's skills or abilities. Cool. There's 3 distinct phases of play. Each one is vital to your character's survival and success. Okay, very nice. We've got adventure, camp, and town phase. Adventure is where the magic in action happens, where you overcome obstacles to find that sweet, sweet loot. I do like that this game is focused on loot. It very much says you are in this situation. You're going to be going out. You're going to go adventure. You're going to go find some stuff. And it's going to be tough. But if you succeed, you can become very rich. In the midst of adventure, you're likely to need short rests, so you can do your camp phase. Once your adventure is complete, you can go to town. Very cool. In your first session, you'll create your characters and then play for a bit. During the session, the players use their characters to tackle the adventure presented by the game master. Okay. Ooh, let's read about the campaign expectations. A strong arc of play lasts for 10 to 12 sessions of 2 to 4 hours each. Enough time to level a few times and see your character grow and change. That's our recommendation, but you can play fewer or more sessions if you want. Very cool. A single short adventure, for example, lasts 1 or 2 sessions. A more typical outing requires 3 or 4 sessions to fully explore. This is nice because if I want to get together and run this with a group and see what it's like, I know that I'm going to need 3 to 4 sessions that are 2 to 4 hours each, and then I can adjust for that. Character sheet, torchbearerrpg.com. Nice. Dice and terms. Okay, so dice, it looks like the dice are a success on a 4 to 6. And worms, as they call them, on a 1, 2, 3. Similar to Burning Wheel. Obstacle. Obstacles are integral to the game. They're descriptive, a steep climb, a rusty lock, or a stubborn bill collector. But they're also described as a number, usually from 1 to 10. So familiar to Burning Wheel. So you set the obstacle and you try and roll that many successes. Twist or condition. If you do not roll enough successes to meet your obstacle, the game master introduces a twist, a new obstacle, or gives you a condition in exchange for what you want. So even if you don't meet the obstacle, you can get a success and get what you want. You're going to get a condition though. Keep in mind, one of the conditions is dead. It looks like it has some terminology here. So plus dice, minus dice, plus successes. The plus 1s or 2s notation indicates that a number of bonus successes are applied to passed or tied rolls. Not failed rolls. Never failed rolls. That's interesting. If you see a notation for a minus 1s, you subtract it. Pass or fail. Help is a potent mechanism in Torchbearer. If you have the same skill or ability that another player has been called to test, you can assist your mate in the endeavor. Help is worth plus 1 dice. Some rules in the game allow you to reroll a dice that comes up as a 6. Okay, so we've seen that in Burning Wheel. If you roll a 6, you can spend fate to reroll them. That's how many dice you roll. Margin of success, margin of failure. The grind. As you adventure, your character will suffer from the inequities of the world. They'll become hungry and thirsty, angry, afraid, exhausted, injured, or sick. And if you don't help them cure these conditions, they'll perish. We call this reality, and the system that represents it the grind. Okay. Some terms may be introduced before being fully explained in order to make a rule complete. Don't worry, keep reading, all will be explained. Ooh, some more art. Some more art. This is cool. A nice little talisman. He's wearing his mask. Good for him. The others aren't wearing their masks. Tistis. Okay. Ooh, creating an adventure. Adventurer, rather. Oh, how long have we been streaming for? I don't think I have that anywhere on my stream setup. Anyways, I guess we won't know what that is. Okay. Creating an adventurer. So you have to do the following steps. You choose your class, you note your human upbringing, you choose your hometown, social graces, specialty, wises, you answer the nature questions, the circles questions, resources, gear, weapon, armor, roll for spells or relics. Boom, that's it. Ooh, we've got some classes. Let's take a look and see what's in here. These are the different ones. The Outcast is the one I'm most curious about so far. We have the Halfling Burglar, so this is Bilbo Baggins, everyone. Everyone say hello to Bilbo Baggins. Cook, Criminal, Fighter, Hunter, Scout, Scavenger. Trait, Hidden Depths, Weapon, any weapon except crossbow, greatsword, halberd, and polearm. Armor, they can have leather, helmet, and shield. Okay. I'm curious to see, what does the criminal skill give you? Like, is that like lock picking and stuff like that? We have the Human Magician. They can do some stuff with their abilities. They have Arcanist, Lore Master, Alchemist, Cartographer, Scholar. They get Wizard Sight. They can use a dagger and staff. Ah, the dwarf is an outcast. So this is probably someone who is no longer in dwarven society. Some implied setting there, potentially. Fighter, Dungeoneer, Armorer, Sapper, I don't know what Sapper is, Orator, and Scout. Traits, born of earth and stone. And they can have any one except for a greatsword. Oh, we have an elf ranger. They can be a fighter, a pathfinder, a scout, hunter, lore master, or survivalist. Trait is firstborn, so leaning into some of that Tolkien lore. Sword, spear, bow, and dagger are their weapons. They can wear leather and a chain. They can wear leather and chain and a helmet. We have the Thudge. As we're going through, it's interesting to note, like, in D&D, we're going to compare it a bit to D&D, because D&D is a combat simulation system, for the most part. That is what it is at its core. And you can have any combination of things. In this one, you get 6 options, and that's it. No mix and matching. No picking skills either. It looks like you just get them. So that's interesting. It is neat in the sense that it's going to balance your group, assuming you all pick different ones. Usually in these games you need that, like you need a good balance so that the different parts are covered. If you're a third, you are touched by the gods. And if you're a warrior, you get fighter, hunter, commander, mentor, rider, and heart of battle. You can wield any weapon and any armor. So, very cool. I like how the third can't wear armor, but they can have a shield. That's kind of funny. Okay, so you choose your class. I think what we'll do just as far as timing goes, so I do have a game later, we're going to get through this section on the class, on the character creation, and then we'll wrap up there, and then next time I do this we'll continue on from there. We'll see how long that takes though. Your character's stock is dependent on your class and can't be separated, as we saw. Note the abilities, skills, and traits. Yeah. Traits start level 1. Okay, we're about to see some Tolkien stuff here. Halflings simply aren't adventurers. It's just not done. I mean, how can one eat second breakfast during the adventure? However, should the unthinkable happen, halfling adventurers make excellent burglars. They're oft underestimated by their companions, but they possess deep wells of patience and endurance. So, it does seem like on one hand, if you're playing this game, you could pretty easily redline and just like rewrite the fiction for what you want for the stocks. From what I've seen so far. But let's imagine that we're going to lean into this, because in my opinion, when you play a game, you should lean into what's there. Ooh. Stretch my back. Magician. They have tapped into a special part of themselves called the Memory Palace. This is the part of their mind that allows them to capture and store magical spells and release them upon command. This art is called arcanism, and it is a dangerous road to travel. I like that magic is dangerous. In any game, in my opinion, magic should be inherently dangerous. It is the most interesting narrative I've seen for magic. Outcasts, they're dwarves who could not tolerate the rigid life in the holds and halls of their ancestors. Tough and resourceful, outcasts can go into mighty heroes or greed-mad tyrants. So, more Tolkien-esque kind of aesthetic that we're leaning into. The elves spend ages wandering the dreamlands, pondering the greater mysteries of life. Rangers are those few elves who awake from their slumber and find themselves unable to return to sleep. Forced to wander wakeful, rangers manifest the spell song of their people, growing more and more powerful until they create their own elf home or forsake the dream forever. Thurges, they have a shard of immortal power. Very cool. Warriors, they're mercenaries and such. Okay. A note on character creation. During character creation, you can concentrate all choices into a few skills and start with 2 or 3 rated at 4. This is a valid strategy. It might be easier to learn the game playing this way. If you're comfortable with the system, you can spread your points around and start with many low abilities. You'll have more opportunity to help newer players, and it'll be a more challenging experience for you. This is nice. It lays out a bit of what you can do for the experience that you want based off of the difficulty you're interested in. If you're playing a human stock character, choose one of the following skills and give it a rating of 3. Or, if you already possess the skill, increase the rating by 1 to a maximum of 4. So you could... Oh, excuse me. Some congestion. We can be a criminal, laborer, haggler, pathfinder, peasant, or survivalist. We pick our home. Choose one of the skills and choose one trait from your home's list. Let's take a look at some of the homes. So you can be from an elf home, if you're an elf, of course. It's interesting that you can be from the dwarven halls if you are not a dwarf. They have some traits here as well. Some skills that they lay out. all pretty straightforward, I think. Ooh, Wizard's Tower. Can be from a remote village. Busy crossroads. Nice. Oh, okay. I'm excited for this section. What are your social graces? How do you convince people that you're right or to do what you need? Choose one skill. Haggler, manipulator, orator, persuader. If you don't already have the chosen skill, give it a rating of 2. If you already have it, increase it by 1 up to a maximum of 4. So each character, every single character, this is very interesting. Each character has a way in which they socially interact with the world. One of 4 ways, but they're there. That's pretty cool. What's your speciality? Each player chooses a unique speciality to give their character. No 2 characters can have the same speciality. Give it a rating of 2, blah, 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 blah. So what can you be? You can be a cartographer, cook, criminal, dungeoneer, haggler, healer, hunter, manipulator, pathfinder, persuader, orator. Oops, sorry. Persuader, orator, rider, sapper. Still don't know what a sapper is. I have to figure that out. Scavenger, scout, and survivalist. And then you pick how you are wise. This is based off of your stock. So this is going to be interesting. This is where we start to see, what does stock mean? How do these characters being different stocks play into the game? So if you're a dwarf, you can be a Dwarven Chronicles wise or Shrewd Appraisal wise. Okay. You can take one of these or invent your own. That's nice. Oh, that's for your second. Choose one of the following, and then you take a second wise, following the guidelines in this section. Either take one of the examples or invent your own. Okay. Oh, okay. So it's going to go over some example wises. Elves can be either Elven lore wise or Folly of Humanity or Dwarves wise. Humans can be home wise or needs a little salt wise. Oh, halflings, sorry. That's cute. Needs a little salt. Oh, the stew is a little bland. Let's add some salt. Humans, you can choose one wise. Either take... Oh. Humans do not get 2. That's interesting because the other 3 stocks, their given wises are all very specific to their stock. Humans are presenting in a Tolkien-esque way of being broader than that, I guess. And then it has some example wises. So you can be wise about a town, a location, a monster, a group, a thing. It has some inappropriate wises. Wises that are too general and inappropriate are disallowed. You cannot be undead wise, town wise, GM wise, plot wise, role-playing game wise. None of that. That's some good stuff. And it looks like you get a language based off of your wise, which we saw earlier. Nature. Let's see what's in here. Nature is a special ability with 3 descriptors attached to it. These determine how your nature is used in play. So if you're a dwarf, so it looks like this is based off of your stock and is used to prescribe sort of a nature versus nurture thing about where you came from, I guess. Going into this, I want to see, like, are these pigeonholing stereotypes, or are these interesting reimaginings of what is there? You know? That's what I'm curious to see. If you're a dwarf, your descriptors are delving, crafting, and avenging grudges. If you're an elf, you get singing, remembering, and hiding. If you're a halfling, you get sneaking, riddling, and merrymaking. And if you're a human, you get boasting, demanding, and running. So let's see how this is used. All characters have a base nature of 3. Answer the 3 questions appropriate to your character stock to determine your starting nature score and possibly some wises and traits. Some nature questions give you the option to change the trait you gained from your home to another trait. If you exchange a trait for a new one at starting levels 1, blah, 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 blah. If you've already chosen the trait, increase its starting level by 1. Okay. My elf was raised in the dwarven halls and I chose fire as my home trait. I answer the 3rd elven nature question, the negative, and thus may select fiery, curious. Okay, so it's just an example. Let's read the elf ones. Have you learned the songs of creation and do you sing them to mend hearts in calm storms? Or do you focus your ancient will into crafting works of unparalleled beauty? Okay, I like that. It's a nice... You have to lean into this if you're going to do this, is what I'm seeing. You're going to have to lean into the stocks. I think there's ways that can be done, which works. My approach to it is you want to celebrate the diversity of your group rather than what we see in Lord of the Rings where it's like, oh, the elves and dwarves are fighting again. None of that, thank you. If you sing the ancient songs, increase your nature by 1. If you bend your will to crafting elven artifacts, replace your singing nature descriptor with enchanting. So you can change from a singer to an enchanter. It's very, very elf-like. I do like that it's evocative. When evil stalks the world, do you confront it? Or do you retreat to the hidden places of the elves and allow time to defeat your enemies? If you confront evil, increase your firstborn trait to level 2. If you retreat and hide, increase your nature by 1. I do like this survey format where it's like, it's going to create a rich character, but it's also going to create a character that's different than if you did this twice, you know? Do you yearn to follow the gulls to the sea and journey west beyond all knowledge, or are you prepared to live a life of struggle and grief? If you yearn to journey west, increase your nature by 1. If you are prepared to live a life of struggle, you replace your home trait with fiery, curious, or restless. If you already have these traits, you can increase it by 1. And then we have the halfling questions and the human questions. I'm not going to go over each of those, but that is interesting how it lays those out and how it talks about that. Circles and relationships. Circles can be found. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Circle starts at 1. Do you have a friend? Okay, so we've got more quiz stuff going on. Okay, I'm on page 36. I'm going to go look at the table of contents and see how long this chapter is. Oh my god. Okay, this chapter goes to page 100. So we're not going to go through all 100 pages because we're on page 36 right now. Let's maybe get to the end of the chapter and we'll do a check-in and see if we want to go further. Do you have friends? So this is it looks like you can have a friend here, or are you a loner, tough and cool? I do like how it phrases this, because it says, this is kind of funny. So it's like, do you have friends who enjoy your occasional visits, or are you a loner, tough and cool? Because there's a lot of times where we play games and people don't create characters with connections. And this lays it out. It's like, oh, you're a loner, tough and cool, and it's like, wait a second. It makes it explicit that you're going to be that rather than implicit, because implicit decisions in character creation they just don't work out, and they don't really mean anything. So it's nice to see you're faced with this question. You have to address it. Okay, what are the options here? You have a friend, you get +1 to circles. Some friends will help on the road or in the wild, others will help in towns. See the starting friend rules. Oh, friends. If you were a loner, tough and cool, your circle starts at 1 and you have an enemy. LOL, that's hilarious. Even if you want to pick the I have no connections one, it just gives you an enemy anyways. So you have to have someone. I like that. I like that a lot because they have to have someone, and as a GM, I need that. Write down the name of your nemesis or mortal enemy on your character sheet and use the starting enemy rules. Skip the rest of the circles and relationship questions and take the loner trait at level 1 or increase it by 1 if you already have it. Also, go get snacks for the rest of the group while they finish answering the circle questions. Do you have parents you can stomach talking to, or are you an orphan? Feel like there's a lot of people who are going to pick the orphan option. I'll leave it at that. Did you have a mentor, or did you make your own way through life? Have you made an enemy in your life, or have your dubious deeds managed to escape notice? Then the starting friend rules. Decide if your friend is townsfolk or an adventurer. Write your friend's name on the character sheet. If your friend is townbound, choose in which settlement they live and choose a profession from your hometown skill list for them. If an adventurer, choose their class and specialty. Their levels equal to yours, leveling up as you do. Determine the last place you saw your friend. Carolina's enemy is a warrior named Grimkel. She was betrothed to him in an arranged marriage, but she fled her home rather than tie her life to his. Then we're going into resources. Oh my gosh. Let's see what's going on here. How much longer is this chapter? Okay, it goes to about page 42. We can do that. Resources. Adventurers start with 0 unless otherwise noted. Choose your starting gear. So let's see what we've got going on here. All characters begin the game with a well-worn set of clothes and a utilitarian belt. Choose their optional. None of these require inventory slots, but they're handy to know about. So you have things, but they don't require inventory. Choose whether you carry a satchel or backpack. Fill it up with all the necessaries. If you hang a pouch or wineskin from your belt, fill them too. Okay. Your inventory slots are listed on the back of your character sheet. Items can be carried, worn, or packed into the appropriate slots. Okay. So starting equipment. So it looks like you have the thing, garlic. Oh my gosh. Gonna be fighting vampires. And then it tells you where it goes and how much space it takes up. So like I said before, I think it's very Diablo-esque. So cloak can be worn on your torso or carried, or it can go in your pack for 2. What do we have here? Anything interesting? A mirror, a 10-foot pole. That's very nice. I do like that the 10-foot pole has to be carried. You can't do anything else with it. Oh, you want a weapon? No. No, you have a 10-foot pole to carry. Pouch, quiver. Ooh, sacramental. Spell materials. Torches, spellbook, water. Wine, wolf's bane. Magicians must take a spellbook as part of their gear, and thurges carry 2 holy relics. Okay. Choose your weapon. Burglars may wield any weapon except blah, blah, blah. Magicians may wield daggers and staves. Okay, so it talks about the different weapons you can have. Da, 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 da. These are your weapon choices. Okay. Battle axe. Anything that stands out here? A staff, a sling. Nothing in particular. All standard weaponry. Very cool. Burglar, Outcast, and Ranger and Warrior carriers begin the game wearing leather armor. The Outcast and Warriors can take a helmet if they did not choose a shield as an additional weapon. Magician and Thurges do not start with armor, but a Thurge may take a shield as noted above. Then you have your slots there. Okay. Then you have your starting spellbook. So you roll on this. So let's roll. Let's just do a practice roll and see what kind of spells we get. I do like this. Roll to see what kind of school you'll get. I rolled a 6, so probably something super common. Conjuration. Etheric appendage, demonic stupefaction, and weird lights. The least common ones include necromancy and the ability to have your own choice. It's interesting that evocation is a much rarer number. And then you have some starting relics. Okay, let's roll for this as well. I'll leave my dice as this time. So I rolled a 5, 6, 7, 8. So really common again. 8, a set of bone knitting needles and the skull of Saint Barnabas. Invocations include Bone Knitter and Catholicon of the Lord of Plagues. I like that. That's very evocative. My hunch going in as we continue through is a lot of there's the system of the game, which we're seeing a lot of, but now we're starting to see some of the content. And I think the content is going to really sing quite nicely. Like, let's take a look at some of the other spells. Divination, Ethereal Premonition, Wayfarer's Friend, Supernal Vision. Love that. What other invocations do we have? Let's look at like a really rare. Mudra of Fate and Guidance of the Lord of Paths and Ways. Stigtear's Arresting Speech and Wrath of the Lords of Law. Shipwright's Chant and Grace of the Lord of Plenty. Breath of the Burning Lord and Cloak of the Lord of Forges. Oh my gosh. We could read all of these and that would be an interesting stream. And that's the end of the chapter. Okay. We made a bit of progress. I would like to keep doing these. We're going to pause here. We're going to pause and this is where we're going to end the stream. Thank you all for tuning in. My first impressions of Torchbearer is I like what we're seeing. I want to dig into more of the different pieces, learn what's going on. So far, I think that it's a game which is going to be more streamlined and accessible than Burning Wheel, but it might not have as much longevity, if that makes sense. Like my Burning Wheel game that I play in as the GM has been going on for a lot of sessions. Like I think we're around like 20 some. Anyways, so Torchbearer seems to be like 10 to 12 sessions if you wanted like a nice arc. That's very cool. It does appeal to me in the sense that a lot of games are much more casual in modern gaming. So I like that about it. I like the content. I like what we've seen so far. The character creation looks cool. I like the surveys and the inclusion of what's going on there. That's pretty neat. Yeah. I'm excited for when they ship the physical copies. I was a Kickstarter backer, so I'm excited to get my hands on those. And yeah, we'll see when I do some more streaming and read more of this. Thanks for joining. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your weekend, and I hope y'all have a good day. Thanks for tuning in.